Nickelodeon was doing everything to make Victoria Justice their next big star. A triple threat, if you will, with high hopes in pushing her music career and boosting her to teen stardom. Unfortunately, her story would be far from that, when her debut single Gold, fresh off of Victorious, failed to hit the charts, while her former co-star shot into pop music stratosphere, becoming one of the most influential pop stars of the 21st century. So from Victoria landing her own show, Victorious, to alleged feud rumors with Ariana Grande, a lengthy hate train, and being questioned about her time on Nick with Dan Schneider, it seemed like Victoria's media attention for so long was coming from things outside of herself. From countless acting jobs to attempting music again after it withering away quite quickly. What happened to Victoria Justice? Was she not given a fair shake after her show ended? And in some alternate universe, should she be much bigger than she is today?
Victoria Justice is going to be one of the biggest stars in the world within 5 years.
Hey guys, it's your girl Cameron and I'm back at it again with another video. Today is a special one. We are going to be talking about what happened to Victoria Justice. Now, this is slightly different because this is an actor who also had a music career. More of an actor than a musician, but as you guys know on my channel, we dissect music. The ins and outs, the intersections, and I think this is a perfect story to dive into today. Victoria Justice, as some of you guys may know, was on Nickelodeon. She was pushed to be this next big teen star, and unfortunately, by a lot of people's surprise, that really fell flat on its face. We're going to talk about her early beginnings, her career start, scandals, and where she is today, because remember, their story doesn't start and stop with their life in the industry. Comment down below, what do you guys think of Victoria's story? Comment down below, what is the most interesting part, or what's something that you did not know? So kick your feet up, grab a glass of wine, grab something to sip on, get comfortable, because this is going to be a good one. I'm really excited to do this one for you guys today. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so that you guys can keep up to date with everything that I post. Without further ado, let's get right into the video. So a story is not complete without talking about someone's upbringing and their beginnings. Victoria Dawn Justice was born February 19th, 1993 in Hollywood, Florida. Her mother from the Bronx is of Puerto Rican ancestry, while her father is of English, German, and Irish descent. Victoria knew at a young age that she wanted to act, that she wanted to be in some sort of spotlight, someone's spotlight. She said, quote, "My parents were crazy enough to believe in me and my dreams," because early on, her family set out on a mission. They moved to LA to set base in Hollywood, California around 2003 when she was just about 10 or 11 years old. So yes, from one Hollywood to another, they were determined to make Victoria's dreams happen.
You knew pretty young. You said to your parents, "I want to do this."
I did, yeah. When I was 8 years old, I was watching TV and I saw a kid about my age in a chip commercial. And I just started yelling for my mom to come in the room. And I said, "Mom, I want to do that. I think I could do that."
Now remember, at this time, child acting was really becoming a staple, right? You were seeing more kids, more everyday children boost into stardom from being on shows, having shows created for them. And Victoria, growing up, saw kids on TV and wanted this for herself. At the time, I think there were less conversations about the safety of child acting, right? Lower parameters, lower entry parameters, and parents were willing to do anything to make their kid a star. But don't get it twisted. Victoria remembers her mother being very present and hands-on to make sure that she wasn't in any compromising situations. Now, just to rewind a tad, right before moving to LA, she did land a guest role, a walk-on role in the Gilmore Girls. She played a little girl called Jill number 2, and her very first scene was with Melissa McCarthy. That's absolutely insane.
Why would you do that?
It tastes like diapers.
It does not taste like diapers.
So this is really what made her parents and her family believe that she had this acting potential, and that's what prompted them to move to LA. And y'all know that the Gilmore Girls was a massive show and a great way to gain experience. Side note, you guys know I go off on tangents. I tried to watch Gilmore Girls with my mom a couple years ago, and I couldn't get into it. I don't know what it was. Everybody put it down, put it down. But I tried a couple seasons and I I wasn't getting the hype. And she would continue booking more small roles. So in 2005, she landed a guest star role on The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, playing a pageant contestant named Rebecca. And if you were a kid at this time, this is kind of an iconic episode, so you definitely saw her on your screen, you just might not have known it. And later she landed a role as Stella in the 2005 short film Mary. So she was sustaining slight momentum by guest roles, booking some gigs here and there, but it was time to take it up a notch. In 2005, when she was just 12 years old, she was accepted into a musical theater program at the Millikan Performing Arts Academy in Los Angeles. And this is where she was able to really tap into that triple threatness and start to hone her craft. While also intensifying her training and skills, she did appear in several advertisements, commercials, and campaigns. So ads for Ralph Lauren, Gap, a guest ad with, yes, a little Gigi Hadid, and Ovaltine, just to name a few. But her big break was slowly brewing. So let's talk about her push to tween stardom. As a child actor, some of you guys may know it is your goal to maybe sign a talent agreement with one of these big wig companies, so Disney or Nickelodeon. And Victoria finally made her Nickelodeon debut and connection by landing a main role as Lola Martinez on Zoey 101. And she auditioned at just 12 years old. Now, this used to be my show.
Are you ready?
Raise your hand if you were a Zoey 101 enthusiast. A series that starred Britney Spears' little sister, Jamie Lynn Spears, which followed the life of a young girl at a boarding school called PCA. Now, Lola was introduced in season 2, but in the show, Lola Martinez was aiming to be an Oscar-worthy actor one day, an actress one day. So her character was very eclectic. She was allegedly added to the show because the girl who played Dana Cruz left after season 1. There were issues with that. But Dan Schneider, who was Nick's screenwriter, TV producer, and showrunner, essentially, had success in producing all of the major TV shows of the 90s in Nick. So The Amanda Show, All That, Kenan and Cal, Drake and Josh. He specifically casted Victoria as Lola. Now, we will talk about Dan a bit later. I just want you guys to know I'm not intentionally skipping over him. We will get to that a tad later. Now, in the midst of her landing the role on Zoey 101 in 2005, she still made cameo appearances like landing a Hallmark Channel film called Silver Bells. She also secured a spot on an episode of Everwood and was a supporting role in the 2006 thriller film The Garden. So we all know that Zoey 101 was canceled due to kind of running its course 4 seasons, but it also went out in flames and controversy when Jamie Lynn Spears got pregnant as a teenager. Parents were not happy, right? So it concluded in 2008, and Victoria guest starred on a couple other Nickelodeon shows. So she was in the Naked Brothers Band TV special called Valentine's Dream Date, playing herself. That's right, Nick liked her so much that she was able to play herself. And amidst all of this, she did land a role in a film called The Kings of Appletown, or Adventures in Appletown, with Dylan and Cole Sprouse. It does get a little tricky here because although it was filmed and produced and everything was kind of wrapped up with a bow, it was even set for theatrical release. It only had one limited preview release in December 2008 and then returned to post-production and never got a worldwide release. They scrapped it. Now, Zoey 101, however, planted a seed for the young budding starlet. Right? In August 2008, Victoria was signed to an overall talent and music deal with Nickelodeon. Now, fun fact, there was a spinoff being written for Victoria's character in Zoey 101, Lola, and it was allegedly called Hey Lola. It was in the earliest stages. It was going to follow her journey to becoming an actress, a young starlet, kind of like what Victoria was trying to do in real life. However, in the early planning stages, it was scrapped. Now, Nick was notorious for constantly writing new shows, piloting them, scrapping them, etc. So nothing out of the ordinary. So similar what we spoke about in the Symphonique video. If you haven't checked that out, look at that after. But once you're filtered into the Nick machine and they like you and find a need for you, you are given several opportunities across the platform, which was what they were doing for Victoria. Now, following the success of her Naked Brothers Band episode, she also appeared in another 2009 episode and was also on shows like iCarly, True Jackson VP, The Troop, and Brain Surge. So they liked her for sure. Victoria also starred in a Nickelodeon musical movie, Spectacular, that aired on February 16th in 2009. Now, this is really where her musical acumen was more so introduced to audiences. Although, second to acting, Victoria had a passion for singing. Now, we mentioned that spinoff that Dan had started writing for her called Hey Lola. Although that was scrapped, her biggest break was around the corner. We like to call it Victorious. How did Victorious come about? How do we get to the show concept? As said, Dan Schneider took a liking to her, especially when they found out that she could sing as well. Now, why was this such a huge deal? Because Victorious would be Nick's first premiere in the 2010s decade, so it really set the tone for where the network wanted to head. Now, we gotta talk about their biggest competitor, Disney. Nick was very different from Disney in several ways, right? Nick was not emphasizing the triple threat in the way that Disney was. Nick absolutely produced stars, but Disney had more emphasis on building this well-rounded child star, the star that could sing, act, and dance. Disney on their roster had Hannah Montana, High School Musical, Camp Rock, The Cheetah Girls, which helped create strong bases and built an even bigger brand. Original songs also equaled revenue on top of that film or TV show, right? It was a money-making machine, and kids really formed deep parasocial bonds because these stars offered every piece of the pie. Now, Nick was trying to catch up and revolutionize with their competition. They wanted actors who could now sell records and have hit TV shows. Hence, why they pushed Miranda Cosgrove's Little Singles. Sparks fly. And they took a liking to producing more musical TV shows. In fact, Nick called up Dan Schneider specifically saying, "Make us a hit musical TV show." Point blank. And that's what he set out to do. Victorious was in this plan, alongside other shows like Big Time Rush and How to Rock. Y'all following me? Okay. Now, Nick's audience was already somewhat familiar with Victoria's face, and she was pretty likable, right? Even back when she was hired on the show, Dan recalls saying to the network, quote, "I've got your next star."
What makes her a superstar on the launch pad?
When she walked in and said, "Hi, I'm Victoria Justice and I'm 12 years old," I was like, all right, this kid has real charisma.
So it seemed like the perfect opportunity to have her finally star in her own show. And yes, it was directly created around her experiences in her life. She shared with him her experience on going to a performing arts middle school and based it off of this idea of kids these days wanting to be stars, something that Vic related to. So the pilot for the show aired on March 27th, 2010, receiving 5.7 million views. It also did help that the first episode aired right after the 2010 KCAs. Now, the series revolves around Victoria's character, Tori Vega, and her life and friends attending a performing arts high school called Hollywood Arts. For those of you guys who have seen the show, you know the ins and outs, the dynamics of the characters. But the show ushered in new Nick faces, like Leon Thomas III playing Andre Harris, Matt Bennett playing Robbie Shapiro, Liz Gillies playing Jade, Avon Jogia playing Beck Oliver, Daniela Monet playing her sister, Trina Vega, and Ariana Grande playing Kat Valentine. It quickly became a Nick fan favorite and was all of the rave. It won Fave TV Show at the 2012 and 2013 KCAs, and it scored 4 Emmy nominations, with Victoria singing the show's theme song, Make It Shine. Y'all already know that's a classic right there. It really provided the platform for Victoria to use her singing chops alongside her other cast members. Victoria had original songs on the show like Freak the Freak Out, Best Friend's Brother, Take a Hint, All I Want Is Everything. Guys, the meme that Andre, I can't. Leon Thomas and Victoria with their duet songs to you, that was my shit. I still listen to that song till this day. And Liz and Ariana with Give It Up. The show partnered with Columbia Epic Records, which was a label group of Sony Entertainment, to sell and package these songs. So Nick signed this agreement in 2007, and it was carrying out with their musical TV shows. They agreed to develop talent and release cast music through their label. Now, fortunately, and maybe unfortunately for Victoria, her cast was also packed with a lot of talent, charisma, and musical talent very specifically. And I say this is fortunate and unfortunate. Fortunate because it really helped the success of the show. You want a show to be a success that you are headlining, right? The unfortunate part was that Victoria was supposed to be the star, but in my opinion, and to a lot of the opinions of viewers, she faded into the background. She did. She was not the star of the show on her own show. Mind you, the casting was done so well that it also shed light on a new star. A new introduction to the Nick universe, Ariana Grande. And we will talk about all of that, don't you worry. Okay, we're gonna break it down, bunk and debunk all of the rumors, don't worry. And when they're trying to use this show as a launch pad for your teen stardom, for you to be the next teen pop star like a Miley Cyrus, like a Selena Gomez, like a Demi Lovato, and you fade to the background on your own show, that's not good. She was absolutely talented, okay, for her own age. I don't like people discrediting Victoria's talent. I mean, she was like a 17-year-old girl doing all of the above, okay? Okay, so we're not gonna do that. But when you're framing Tori as the dominant 1 in a million talent, it's not fully believable when her supporting cast like Liz Gillies, Leon Thomas, and Ariana Grande had immense vocal talent. Arguably more interesting characters than hers. It took away from the show's focal point, Tori. While some reviews were mixed for the show itself, I will say that many reviews did rave about Victoria's performance and presence in the show. One saying that Justice is better at singing than acting, ooh, yikes, and the show doesn't flow as smoothly as iCarly, but Victoria has the personality and talent needed for a shot at being the next big teen thing. Now this show was pretty big. It spawned apparel, lunchboxes, dolls, a singing Tori doll, Happy Meal toys, a Nintendo DS game, Wii, CDs, DVDs. The show was absolutely a success, a merchandising success at that as well. And their soundtrack sold pretty well too. Now, it was a blessing and a curse, as is most things in the show business. A show that was used as a vessel for Victoria to blow up into teen stardom, Hannah Montana-esque, it didn't quite work that way. The show had a good run, 4 seasons, and on August 10th, 2012, Victoria announced the series discontinuation and it not being renewed. And it happened not long after the Sam and Cat spinoff show was announced. So this is the dawn and the beginning of the saga of why did Victoria's get canceled. While others blamed the show cancellation on Victoria's Make It in America tour. Yes, she went on a solo tour. Now this was also denied as well to be the reason for Victoria's cancellation. But due to some of this backlash, Nick did decide to split in half. It's already filmed season 3. So Victoria's filmed 3 seasons. They split that 3rd season in half to make it a 4th. But sadly, the show was not given a proper finale. Again, I think that also hurt in closing the chapter. Now just to kind of rewind a tad, while Victoria's was on air, she was not in a cage. She also starred in the 2010 Nick TV movie called The Boy Who Cried Werewolf. Very hard worker, very strenuous schedule as a teenager. She also played the lead role in Fun Size, which was another Nickelodeon film that released in October 2012. So let's talk about the music career that spawned from her time on Victoria's, and the music career that Nickelodeon hoped to really take off. A Victoria's budding music career by way of the TV show that was used as a vessel. A great platform, nonetheless, it can be very hard for people to take you seriously outside of the platform in that role, especially when Victoria's character was heavily based off of her as a person. Because the show was so intertwined with who she was, you'd think it'd be an easier transition. But I also think that people had a very hard time separating her from the character. When you're already kind of seen as this Nick girl, it's challenging to break out of that, for one. Because remember, Disney had experience with the Disney girl to pop star pipeline. Look at Selena, look at Demi, look at Miley. All had their own shows, their own characters, and were still able to successfully create a delineation between their own on-screen characters while also being taken seriously as music artists. And it didn't come without its challenges, but it was a lot smoother and people were willing to grow with them. Victoria had a hard time with this. And don't get me wrong, as said before, I think when we talk about the character in connection with who she is, follow me, there were also a lot of people who found Victoria's character, Tori on Victorious, to be very irritating. There were people who really did not like her character, whether it was the way that she was progressively written worse as the seasons went on to some viewers, and I think some of this rubbed off onto the perception that grew, that people found. and connected it with who Victoria was as a person. So again, having a show written for you kind of negatively went in her favor. People are going to conflate the two. Children are going to conflate the two. Now, don't get me wrong. She had bops on Victoria's that Victoria carried alone. Like, she was singing them herself, and they will still go down in Nickelodeon history. She even helped write some of the songs.
Really do love songwriting, and that I've started doing it when I was 16 years old. For the show, and I wrote 3 songs that were on Victorious: Best Friend's Brother, Make It in America, and a song called Faster Than Boys.
But I think there's always been more expected for her future musically, and she hadn't been able to exceed that potential. As early as 2010, in an AP interview, she did say she was recording an album, not associated with the show. However, she wanted to take her time on the process, and let's face it, she was booked and busy. She didn't have time to really commit to that. Now, if we go forward about 2 years, in October 2012, it was finally revealed that her debut album would be released in 2013. That was the plan. So her promo single, Girl Up, which aimed to help girls in developing countries, released in February 2013, and her official debut single, Gold, released on June 18th, 2013. It was a bubbly pop single released by Columbia Records. I listened to it once and I never listened to it again. Fun fact, the song was actually helped written by Tove Lo. Tove Lo. Period. Tove Lo. Of all people. And unfortunately, it was not a success. It was actually far from it. For somebody with her platform and her visibility and her fans, it should have not performed that bad. I'm sure they hoped that it would debut at least in the top 40. It missed the Billboard charts altogether, like completely. And the only play it really got was on Radio Disney. That was not what they wanted. And in my opinion, it's not like the song was egregious. If anything, it kind of sounded like it could fit in the landscape of a Victorious song. And I think that's what they thought this would be. But it was such a budding time for new pop stars to really get their footing. And so many people were having their cake and eating it too. There was just nothing sonically interesting or unique. Also within the sound of her voice, I think her voice is, although it's nice, there wasn't anything characterizing it that made her stand out, if that makes sense. Now, this was intended as a debut single to her debut studio album. Now, in June 2013, she said, quote, "When you hear these songs, the people that know me are like, this is so Vic. It's 100% my personality, messages I want to get across. Some of the songs are really fun, upbeat stuff that you can dance to. And then I have some songs that are a little more introspective, a little more mellow. It's just all me." So she was giving a glimpse into what the sound was going to be like. They clearly worked on these tracks. Unfortunately, though, the album was scrapped. It was thrown in the bin. Where in the bin? And she'd leave Columbia Records due to, quote, creative differences. That's what it always is, y'all. That's what it always is. Now, there's not a lot of details on the inner workings of why she split from her label, okay? But I also think because Columbia worked with Nickelodeon on their soundtrack, they wanted to basically continue the train of what they had started with Victorious, and I don't think that they were very open to allowing her to explore different sounds. They wanted to keep that formula and just push it off of their airways. Remember, she was also a songwriter, so I'm sure she had and wanted a lot more creative say naturally than maybe the average person. In regards to that project, when they were still making it, she did say, "I'm very excited for everyone to hear my own sound and who I am as an artist. I've been cultivating it for a while now, and I think it's definitely time for me to reintroduce myself to people. I feel like now that my show is over, I've been talking about the solo album for a while now." So she was very eager, and it does suck that it did not pan out. And this is ultimately where her music career completely halted. So it seemed like when she was in label limbo after leaving Columbia Records, probably in order to pay the bills and also continue watering her passion for acting, she dove back in headfirst to getting acting gigs, and that's really where she's lived. In October 2013, she landed a role on MTV's show Eye Candy, which lasted only one season, unfortunately. She also appeared in a movie called Naomi and Ellie's No Kiss List that officially released in September 2015. She was on an episode of Lip Sync Battle, which you guys know it had its pop culture moment in time, which aired July 2015. And she was also in a charity single called Love Song to Earth, which was penned and written by Paul McCartney and Natasha Bedingfield. Other artists that were featured on the song were John Bon Jovi, Sheryl Crow, Leona Lewis, obviously Natasha Bedingfield, Sean Paul, Y'all, it was a lot. It was a lot going on. But it's like the We Are the World kind of vibe, you know? And in October 2016, she landed a role in Fox's musical film, the Rocky Horror Picture Show, Let's Do the Time Warp Again. She also starred in a film called The Outcast as the character Jodie, which released in August 2017. So, as you guys can see, she reverted back to acting more heavily. But in the same breath, she wasn't landing any blockbuster films per se, so it was still as if she was kind of working up to something bigger. It seemed like her potential almost started to cap a little bit. Now, to sum this section up, as far as her music career and kind of why it completely took a nosedive, I think many people concluded that Victoria just didn't really stand out musically. And I'm going to say this in the most, it kind of in a very blunt, maybe harsh way. Some people thought that she was just kind of mid. Coolish vocals, nothing super extraordinary, a bit boring, a bit vanilla. And again, you had people like Miley, Demi, Selena really starting to take off in the pop charts. Ariana Grande, which we are getting there. She didn't stand out enough amidst all of that. I mean, think about how Miley always had these very eclectic, big vocals, but very unique vocal tone. Demi Lovato always had a voice on her. Selena Gomez, I'm not gonna lie, she about to catch a stray. I don't know really how they were able to make that happen, because to be honest, if Selena Gomez could low-key do it, you would think maybe Victoria could, right? Selena's not like this musical connoisseur, but again, Disney provided the proper resources and training and connections even that Nick just didn't have. And I don't know, I just don't think that was supposed to be Victoria's story. So this is the part that all of y'all really low-key come here for, because you guys like the mess. The scandals. Ariana Grande. Yes, Ariana Grande. People paint her to be the villain in a lot of people's stories. The bubble began to slightly burst on Victorious when people really realized that Ariana had the voice of the show, like the voice. Okay? After all, Tori Vega's character was to be the singing connoisseur and the focal point. That's what they wanted. The famous from Ariana Grande rocked people's worlds. It made people sit up in their chair. With Give It Up, with Liz Gillies and Ariana Grande on the show, really making me lean forward in my seat, along with the rest of y'all at home. We all said, wait, this girl can sing. So naturally, or maybe not naturally, when two girls are giving, people are inclined to compare. Victoria had a good voice. She did. Nothing I would say, however, that was wildly tonally unique, right? It fit the bill for what was trying to be done. It did sell records and fostered her music stint that was birthed out of her time being on Nick. We talked about Victoria's solo career attempting to take off after the show concluded. But what I didn't mention was that both girls, Ariana Grande and Victoria Justice, had a very similar timeline when it came to tackling their solo endeavors. The girls both set off to record their debut albums afterwards, and to kickstart that, releasing singles right afterwards, around the same time. Ariana was filming for Sam and Cat, because you guys know she did get her own spinoff. Already, because of Victoria's cancellation and the confusion around why, there was already some building resentment, at least perceived by fans. Now, I don't think Nick producers realized that Ariana Grande would be this megastar when they first casted her. If anything, I'm pretty sure they wanted to keep her on the Nick pipeline for a bit longer than she stayed. It also didn't help that when Victoria's single Gold came out in June 2013, it coincided with Ariana Grande's buttery pop R&B track, The Way, that released March 2013. Now, although Ariana's single released a couple months prior, the song continued to grow and grow and grow and grow. So, with both of their debut singles releasing around the same time, right, and Ariana Grande kind of being the unexpected standout, it became a very easy media talking point to compare and put into perspective how, quote, disappointing Victoria's career was going, while Ariana's was going exceedingly well. It was like two sides of a coin. Victoria was projected to get to this height. Ariana, as talented as she was still kind of a background character. People were just recently introduced to her. She was not expected to do that well. And then she broke that glass ceiling, right? She shattered it. So in one Billboard article, it even pointed out that while Gold had 33,000 downloads, according to Nielsen SoundScan, The Way had 2.2 million downloads. These numbers were reported as of the date of the Billboard article, which was published in August 2014. Okay, so people were putting numbers to it very clearly, very boldly, and it was not favorable for Victoria. Now, when people were waiting for Victoria's album, which I don't really know if there were a lot of people waiting for it, but it was predicted to come, when it was scrapped, Ariana's debut album, Yours Truly, was released and reached #1. I mean, it was huge press tour. She was everywhere. She was gaining fans by the second. For some, the line was drawn. Ariana was looked at as the true star, the true breakout of Victoria's, not the star of the show, not the person who the show was centered around. Despite Nick trying to platform and launch Victoria's career for years, it's almost like the fans spoke and it didn't align with what executives predicted. Victoria not getting a fair shake musically has haunted her till this day. I mean, people will never fail to mention it. I'm talking about it today. In interviews for Victoria, she'd also be asked about Ariana, her success in some way, shape, or form. In an ET interview, she was asked if she and Ari would ever work together again. And she said, quote, "I think we're kind of both on our own separate paths right now. I've been more focused on acting and she's been doing her singing thing and doing awesome," right? But they knew exactly what they were trying to do, starting to kind of create this narrative and spin this rivalry. Ariana was doing something that no Nickelodeon star had ever done or been able to do. And Nick had little to do with it. I mean, Ariana signed to Republic Records completely outside of the Nick machine. She was able to make that mature shift, except for when Nick first tried to launch her solo career with Put Your Hearts Up in 2011. That was obviously a Nick contrived single. Basically what Nick was trying to do with Victoria. They wanted everybody to have this bubblegum kind of sound, and Ariana was able to break from those chains. She was able to figure out her artistic identity sooner on, and Republic Records supported that. Victoria by the public was hardly given a chance. And some people just couldn't fathom. Like, she has to be at home seething. She has to be. She was supposed to be the next big thing. She has to be pissed, right? And so people projected that. They painted a nasty picture of her. One that painted her as bitter, jealous, and upset that her co-star, not even co-star, her supporting cast, her supporting star ended up being much more musically successful in a quicker time frame. Do you guys think that Victoria's career would have looked any different? She would have had a better shot had Ariana not come out and decided to really lean into her solo career at the exact same time? Do you really think that the Ariana thing truly overshadowed Victoria's music career, or do you think it was just like Victoria didn't have it? So I don't think it would have mattered, but I do think that it was like putting the knife in and twisting it. Like, it was just like it just was a lot worse because of that. So this really stems into the hate train, the deeper root of the issue. So let's talk about it. Now, as a result of all of this comparison between Victoria and Ariana, it began dredging up previous discrepancies, right? Fans thought that they had noticed during their Victoria's days, specifically when Victoria's canceled. Whose fault was it? Was it Victoria's or was it Ariana's? And rumors began brewing that altogether they didn't like each other and they never liked each other. In February 2013, after the show was canceled, Ariana went on to Ask FM, allegedly, to address fans who asked why Victoria's was canceled. A lot of them were pointing their finger at Ari. Remember, some viewers were blaming her as it was rumored it ended because of Sam and Kat. She allegedly said, quote, "Sweetheart, the only reason Victoria's ended is because one girl didn't want to do it. She chose to do a solo tour instead of a cast tour. If we had done a cast tour, Nickelodeon would have ordered another season of Victoria's while Sam and Kat filmed simultaneously, but she chose otherwise. I'm sick of this BS." This is what Ariana allegedly said to fans. The she that Ariana was talking about in question was Victoria Justice, who we all know had just went on a solo tour. So Ariana did immediately delete it and apologized once it was brought to her attention that both fan bases were beefing, okay? Ariana was undoubtedly being impulsive and defensive, and this was not smart. Around that time, Victoria went on Twitter saying, quote, "Some people would throw someone that they consider a friend under the bus just to make themselves look good. Hashtag stop being phony. Hashtag if they only knew." So a lot of people assumed that Victoria was saying this in response to Ariana's Ask FM. Were Victoria and Ariana close? But did they dislike each other? We didn't know. In the June issue of 17 magazine in 2013, Ariana did talk about drama with an unnamed co-star, saying, quote, "I worked with someone who told me they'd never like me, but for some reason I just felt like I needed her approval. So I started changing myself to please her. It made me stop being social and friendly. I was so unhappy." Now, because of the brewing narrative, people immediately jumped to her, allegedly talking about Victoria. That's what people thought. I don't know why people's minds went here. Because to me, the first thing I thought was, shit, she could have been talking about somebody in the Broadway show that she did, 13. And I was correct. Ariana would come out after everybody was raving about this interview saying I was speaking about somebody who I was on Broadway with. And she did say that she should have been a lot more direct about that. Maybe direct as in the time frame that it happened in, because Victoria caught a lot of unnecessary heat. She caught strays. This spawned rumors that Victoria was a bully and that Ariana was the victim. Now, even though the girls did take a picture at the 2014 KCAs, that wasn't enough for folks to lay it to rest. In January 2015, TMZ followed Vic and asked her, "Is there any part of you that regrets breaking up the band with Ariana Grande?" In which she responded,
When you went on like the solo thing and then left the show?
That's complete misinformation, because first of all, I had no control over leaving the show or the show ending. That was completely up to Nickelodeon and the executives. And I love the cast and I love doing Victorious, but that has not, me going on tour when I did had nothing to do with whether or not there was a Victorious tour. There's much more to that story that people don't know.
Is that right? So you and
I don't think it's fair to blame that on me, because it's not true.
Oh, I'm not blaming it at all.
No, I'm not saying to you, but in general.
I'm just saying, just since then, there has been a bit of a feud, so to speak, with you and Ariana Grande, which may or may not be based in reality, but that's what people have been saying.
No, I mean, there's no feud. I mean, I just talked about this in 17 magazine. Like, we're not like best friends, but at the end of the day, like, I wish her well and she's doing great and I'm happy.
Now, the real reason the show was canceled was never fully given, but it was rumored that there was some shady behavior, some things happening on set that shouldn't have been happening, like cash drinking. Yeah. And the show also just kind of running its course after 4 seasons. And shortly after, on the Meredith Vieira show, Victoria was asked directly about the alleged feud.
I would love to set the record straight, because I feel like these rumors have been going on for way too long. So basically, there was an article in 17 magazine where she had said that she was bullied on set, and the magazine basically alluded to it being me. And then, so once the article came out, actually before it came out, she texted me privately and she was like, "Oh my gosh, I am so sorry. You know how the media like twists words. I was not talking about you. Obviously, like I was talking about one of someone on Broadway that I had worked with." But once it got out there, like everyone thought that I was this bully and that I was mean to her, which couldn't be further from the truth. Like, sure, we have had like our differences, but at the end of the day, like everyone in the cast of Victorious was a family, and I love and respect all of them and wish all of them well no matter what. Yeah. And it was just this ongoing thing, and then people were blaming me, saying that I was selfish for going on tour and that I was the reason why Victorious was canceled, which first of all couldn't be further from the truth, because I am not a Nickelodeon executive. I have absolutely no power over whether or not the show continued on, and a lot of the other cast members didn't want to go on a Victorious tour anyway, so it was just kind of unfair.
In fact, when she was asked about Ari in the media after this point, she would compliment Ari's success over and over and over again, right? Kind of trying to keep a no beef situation. But it did not help that Ariana was building like this dedicated fan base of stans. Now, rumors were slightly dispelled when in December 2015, the Victorious cast had a sleepover, watching old episodes, reminiscing. They all got together, posted pictures, and looked like they had a lovely time. Everything was relatively put to bed until 2017, when a clip resurfaced, one being of a 2010 Popstar magazine interview, cast interview, where they were all asked questions about one another. When everyone answers, Ariana, Victoria gives the "we all do" answer.
One thing you don't know about Ariana Grande is that she literally sings everything. Like she's starting to forget how to talk in her own voice, because she sings everything, and it's a good thing because she's a beautiful voice. But it's awesome. She sings absolutely everything. She never stops.
That's so true, Liz. You sing a lot too, like especially during rehearsals. We all sing.
That's true.
Yeah, I sing the weirder things. Yeah, I think I sing really weird.
So, from some fans' perspective, people viewed this as her being threatened and maybe wanting to take highlight or take some of the shine away from Ari's musical talent. And although Victoria would address this in a goofy way on Twitter in 2017 when it became a meme, I'm sure everyone, mostly Victoria, was frustrated that this reignited the rumors once again. And Ariana would even reach out to Victoria when all of this resurfaced, telling her that this is so ridiculous and that she's so sorry that Victoria has to go through this, especially all over again. The internet was projecting, like it often does, especially when Ariana would continue to foster her relationship with former castmates well into her solo career. Victoria often seemed to be mixing out on a lot of that action. This fueled the rumors years after the show concluded. In November 2018, when Ari's Thank You Next video came out, fans noticed that Victoria's co-stars like Matt Bennett, Liz Gillies, and Daniela Monáe were in the video, while they took note that Victoria was not. Now, this was also kind of a stupid drama point because Aben wasn't in there, Leon wasn't in there, whom she is close to. So Victoria did congratulate her on the release. It's like, what do you guys want? If anything, Victoria was probably filming a film or a movie or a show. She probably couldn't make it. But at 2019 Coachella, feud rumors also ignited again when Victoria spent the weekend at the festival and left during Ariana's headlining show. A lot of people thought that it was conveniently timed. Now, although Victoria did say and address that, sorry, I have to leave early, crazy ass parasocial fans then attacked her for it, where she had to address it on her Instagram story.
Unfortunately, I had to leave early. I didn't get to experience any of Coachella Day 3, which is such a bummer. Of course, I wanted to see Ariana tonight, but I know she's going to have an amazing show and she's going to kill it.
In 2020, host to honor Victoria's 10-year anniversary, Victoria, all of the cast members on Zoom, and she did clap back to a fan in a comment. Everything seemed like it was rainbows, sunshine, butterflies, boom. In 2023, Victoria did say to E! News,
I don't even need to talk about this anymore, but Ariana texted me and we both were like, this is so stupid. And so I think the biggest rumor is just like this whole narrative that was created of like me being jealous of her and us not being friends and people wanting to pit people against each other, and it's just so not even relevant anymore now.
And in 2024, in a little social media video with her former co-star Daniela, Victoria did joke about the memed clip.
Somebody's gotta sing. It ain't me. I think we all sing, Daniela.
So she's been a good sport. And I don't know if this will ever die, but at this point, if you can't beat them, join them. And I think that's exactly what she's done with all of this. I think this is just a bigger symptom of when girls aren't close, also vying for the same opportunities and are talented and are stars in their own right. There's this inclination to call for a feud or call it a feud or pick things apart, right? Because we all know women are not allowed to not get along. That's okay. Y'all are so girled out that you all think that ladies have to get along and braid each other's hair. They don't have to get along. They do maintain that there was never beef. And so I think we should all leave it there. So in all, they are good. There's no beef, and Victoria was unfairly, in my opinion, villainized in this entire situation. So I hope that you guys are all over that, because we are. But this unfortunately became a large part of Victoria's story, right? People were more concerned about her feud than the projects that she had her hand in. And for our last portion of the scandal section, we do need to talk about Dan Schneider. So I did tell you guys earlier that I would talk about briefly the Nickelodeon showrunner, Dan Schneider, notably the creator of Victorious, and the person who essentially discovered Victoria be introduced into this Nickelodeon universe. Now, some of you guys may know the documentary Quiet on Set, The Dark Side of Kids TV, aired March through April 2024 as a 5-part series that exposed the alleged horrors at the hands of adults, right, in charge at specifically Nickelodeon, but an overall commentary and kind of a PSA and cautionary warning about the dangers of childhood stardom. Its main focus was on Dan Schneider, uncovering and trying to investigate his alleged inappropriate behavior with child actors as well as female colleagues, specifically at Nickelodeon. Now, he was let go from Nick in 2018. There was alleged verbal abuse, anger issues directed at his colleagues, and although he denied any sexual misconduct, people would allege gender discrimination, inappropriate behavior specifically to his female colleagues, and the toxic culture that some actors experience by proxy of all of this. He's never been formally charged for any crimes. And in fact, in May 2024, he filed a lawsuit to sue Warner Brothers Discovery for defamation due to this documentary. Nick actresses like Alexa Nicholas, Lori Beth Denberg, Jeanette McCurdy have bravely come out and detailed when all of this was unveiling, okay? Many people looked to other big names on Nick's previous roster. What were their opinions, experiences, and thoughts on Dan, right? As a way to further validate and uncover this damning information. In a 2024 Marie Claire interview, Victoria did speak candidly on Dan Schneider and the situation unfolding with this whole documentary, saying, quote, "Something that was very evident in the documentary is that Dan had a very large ego," she told Marie Claire, "and sometimes that ego clouded his better judgment and affected the way he treated people. And there were times I felt like I was being treated unfairly." Now, she removed any detail. She did say there were moments with Dan that were, quote, "in poor taste," saying, however, nothing physically inappropriate happened between the two. But she did say she was absolutely owed an apology from Dan Schneider. Now, there were some rumors that were never confirmed that maybe Dan blackballed her. Maybe she rejected some advances, and that's why she had less screen time in season 3. And perhaps, it was a reason her Nick career never took off and ended so abruptly. So that's all rumors, but I do remember some people being upset with Victoria because of her quotes and this interview very specifically, feeling as if she gave him too much leniency. In the interview, she does emphasize how grateful that she is for him giving her her big break. At the end of the day, he discovered her, acknowledging how complex their relationship was, considering she met him at just 12 years old, which in my opinion is very real and honest of her to be transparent about that. They had, this long history that made things maybe a bit more complicated. However, that does not excuse any misconduct, but some people took that as her excusing it or minimizing it. In a previous YouTube video where Dan did address the allegations, this is what Vic had to say about that. After watching his apology, I think he recognizes he did a lot of things wrong, and I think if he could step back into the time machine, he would do a lot of things differently. Now, do you guys think that that kind of sounds like a dismissal a little bit? I don't think it was the best way to address it, but I don't think it was her trying to discount maybe what some Nick stars were saying about him. But you do want to be in support of those victims.
Oh yeah, babe, why'd you have to say that? I just saw that Victoria Justice, aka Lola, aka Tori, went on an interview and said that she was grateful to Dan Schneider. And I get it, because it is kind of true that she would not be where she is now without Dan Schneider, but did we have to say it in an interview? Yeah, because if I was an ex-Nickelodeon actor, you would not be able to waterboard that information out of me. Because you really need to read the room. People are not happy with Dan Schneider right now. We all saw those inappropriate videos of Ari, especially the one where she's pouring water all over herself. And she also saw what happened to her co-star Alexa on Zoe 101, so it's there really is no excuse.
She also said that although her Nickelodeon experience wasn't perfect, it was for the most part positive. And I think some people look at these statements as, again, being dismissive or silencing victims or being on the side of the accused, right? And then I also remember that people were upset at folks like Ariana Grande for not speaking up soon enough. And then people were also upset with people like Victoria who put their 2 cents in. So in a way, it just kind of felt like she couldn't win. And lastly, guys, there's a dating section because that bakes into a lot of the controversy. I'm going to add this TikTok that kind of briefly details her dating life, but she's always really been about her bag. She's been out the way. She's always kind of minded her business. So there's really not a lot to say here, but I'm going to play this anyway in case y'all were curious.
Dated Josh Hutcherson. Yes, our short king Josh got with Victoria. Before Josh, she dated Cole Sprouse. Met because she was a guest star on an episode of Sweet Love is Zack and Cody. Was rumored to have hooked up with actor Nicholas Hoult. They were spotted going to Wimbledon together. Then she started dating actor Ryan Robin. They met from her show Victorious. In the episode, he was caught cheating on her, and it's how we have the song Begging on Your Knees. And then when they started real life dating, he actually did cheat on her with actress Jessica Vargas. Then dated actor Pearson Faudet. They starred in the movie Naomi and Eli's No Kiss List. Victoria's character has a crush on him, but his character is gay. In real life, she ends up getting what she wants because he is a straight man. Then her last major relationship was with Broadway actor Reeve Carney. Yes, he was Spider-Man in Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark. He was her longest relationship. Dated for 3 years, starting when she was 23 and he was 33. Then he went on to do a little show called Hadestown, and then ended up meeting his co-star Eva Noblezada. She got married actually at 21 and then left her husband when she was cast in 80s Town. And then Reeve left Victoria Justice the same month he got with Eva.
So let's talk about, where is she now? This is really the conclusion of the video. In the 2020s, Victoria began finding her footing again with much more visibility. She popped back up in the Nick universe when she hosted the 2020s KCAs, virtually due to COVID. But that same year, she also announced that she was a member of the Recording Academy. So those are the people who vote on who wins the Grammys. 2020 was also the year of her musical return. She geared up to release her first single in 7 years called Treat Myself, which was released in December 2020. Now, Victoria was independent at this point. She still is till this day.
I've gone the label route. I had like a deal when I was younger with Columbia and didn't work out for a multitude of reasons. And then I kind of took a step back from music and focused more on acting. I did a show for MTV, but music is always going to, like, it's always something that I love and that is going to be a part of me. And the label thing, unless it's the right deal, I feel like that hasn't made sense for me right now. So I think it's just been really creatively gratifying to just make music with people that I like, and if I write a song that I love and I want to put it out, like, I just put it out.
She then released Stay in February 2021 and was on a roll, releasing another single, Too Effin' Nice, in May 2021. It was good to see that for her artistic sake, Victoria was returning to music to maybe foster and water that side of her that was never able to really blossom or bloom. In March 2021, she starred in a movie, Trust, and for the film, she released a promo song, which was a cover of Everybody's Breaking Up, really marrying her music with acting ventures. She also starred in a film called After Life of the Party in September 2021 and released a soundtrack, or EP rather, for the film, performing a song called Home. Continuing on with film, she played a Lola again, a full circle moment, in a movie called A Perfect Pairing. It was a romantic comedy film produced by Netflix that released in May 2022. She played the role of a pregnant woman in a film called The Tutor, which premiered March 2023, with other films under her belt being Depravity, a thriller film that was released in October 2024. As much as she's been on the acting train, she did confirm to Variety that she would not be in the Zoe 101 reboot film called Zoe 102, one in which most of her former co-stars were going to be in. She was referenced in the film, but she did say that the timing just didn't work out, and that's essentially why she couldn't be in it. Back in 2023, for her 30th birthday, she released another song called Last Man Standing and did confirm that she is working on her debut album and it is being developed. You may have looked at your watch and said, wait a minute, it's 2025. That was 2 years ago. Exactly. I realized that my girl hardly even has an EP. She ain't even got an EP. Outside of the Victoria's EP, she ain't got an EP. So she probably should start there. In 2024, she put out a few songs like Tripped and Raw. Raw being one of the ones that I was like, okay, this is a nice vibe. I like that. I like that for her.
But think about you ain't more than I should have been. Anxious, but lovely.
I think she should stay in that world. She also released a song called Hate the World Without You, which is a song dedicated to her younger half-sister. And then she also released a song called Down, which to my surprise had like this island vibe.
We want no pressure. Boy, if you say it down, I'm down, down, down.
More seductive, sultry toned her voice, different than anything she's released yet. The melody was nice. However, vocally, there's still something for me with Victoria that doesn't like resonate with me. It just doesn't get me excited. Based upon all of her solo single entries, I really think at this point she's just trying to find her sound. She's just trying a bunch of everything. And until she does that, I don't think that she'll do a proper debut. That's kind of a to be continued. However, forever an actress, she was recently on an episode of Suits LA and landed a role as a recurring character this season. And she also landed a role in a new horror movie called Send a Scare, which was announced in March of this year, so 2025. One thing about Victoria, though, out of all it is she's going to be booked and busy. She's attending events, commercials, movies, photo shoots, and although some may have thought she'd be destined for bigger things and projects, she really had a stretch in Hollywood that most would dream of and can't achieve. I mean, she's been in the industry since she was 11. That is not a failure story to me. This is not a sob story to me. She's still in a business after being around this long. She has had a successful career. She's had a successful run. Does it look like what everybody maybe thought? Sure, maybe not. Maybe not. And actually, about a week or so ago, maybe a little bit longer, I saw people raving about her Numero Netherlands cover. It went kind of viral. She looked good. She went viral for looking good. She looked good. Actually, quiet as kept. A lot of people were like, I thought this was Zendaya. Definitely get more into that modeling bag. She's stunning. With 24 million followers on Instagram, tuning into her every move, maybe they're not as interested in the music, she still has created a sustainable platform, and I commend her for that. So guys, that was what happened to Victoria Justice. I'm very curious to know what you guys think. Hit that subscribe button down below if you want to see more videos just like this. If you made it to the end, how about you guys comment a star emoji? And that lets me know that you guys like these long videos and that you guys are tapped in. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.